Welcome to the second episode of Watchmen. Here's our panel. I'm David.
Logan.
Derek.
And let's jump right into this. You guys saw the second episode?
Did, and we could probably just start off with her line at the very end there, but we can't drop the F-bomb. We're not even allowed one.
What the hell?
Even a PG-13 movie is allowed one, but we don't get that. But I think everybody knows what we're talking about if you've seen it. So there's a lot to talk about in this episode. So what would you like to start out with?
We start off with some of our predictions from last week.
Yeah.
We, just after watching that first episode, a lot of stuff that we had brought up, like old Don Johnson's character, not such a good guy after all.
Well, maybe. It was kind of easy to find, kind of in plain sight, like she said. So it could have been stashed there to make you think that he's part of the cavalry, but maybe not. I mean, there's still questions there as to how good of a person he really was. So
maybe he didn't need to hide it.
Yeah,
true.
I mean, I don't know. I got a real feel that was legit. Just from the overall vibe we've gotten, I mean, it was something that we were kind of predicting in the first place.
Yeah.
And then also the badge being on there. And if you notice, like, when she walked in, almost the look on his wife's face of, okay, it's time to start pretending.
Mm-hmm.
She had that look on her face like, okay, here we go.
Gonna have to do an awful lot of...
And scene. You know, she was, like, preparing. And you had brought up a point, too, with the politician.
He clearly assumed that she was law enforcement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because why else would she be there?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. He was kind of like, why, oh, you're not law enforcement? That's odd. Why are you here? Like, everybody in the house was white, So, I don't know. Maybe I missed a little bit there, but I really feel as if it kind of makes sense with Lewitt Gossett Jr.'s character, too, being the one who strung him up.
And the one who led her to having skeletons in his closet there, which he said at the beginning of the episode there that he wouldn't give her straight answers to anything. I'm just the one who strung up your police chief. Yeah. And she goes, no, who are you? He goes, if I tell you too much at once, I don't think you can handle it, so I'm giving you bits and pieces at a time here. You're just not paying attention is what he was telling her.
Yeah.
And strongly alludes to him being co-aligned with the Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does. And I also thought it was interesting, another point you brought up, Derek, was, if he was responsible for the White Knight, it makes a lot of sense because, Derek was saying I had a wounded shoulder, but everybody else was pretty much
done.
Yeah, and she was supposed to be dead. And him befriending her kind of makes him look more innocent.
They don't even mention the second person that was in her house there that had her dead to rights and didn't take the shot.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting to me. When she wakes up and he's at her hospital bedside there, and he said, you must have somebody up there looking out for you, which automatically, a lot of people are going to go, oh, God, or whatever. First thing that sprang to mind is Dr. Manhattan up there, Mars. So that's kind of my theory at this point, that he's all tied into all this and she's a part of something that's about to really, really get going here in the next few episodes.
Well, let's go on to our good old doctor.
That leads us that was a masterful few minutes there with Ozymandias. So
it did answer a question that we were talking about last week. It's probably you were like robots or clones.
They look like clones. They're clones apparently. So he just kind of plays with them like they're toys, and there's an unlimited amount of them, and they're at his beck and call, and for some reason or another he seems very obsessed with Dr. Manhattan and replaying his origin there. So that's really interesting to me, why he's still so stuck on this years later.
I feel like he's stuck on it because I feel like in his ultimate narcissism of him being the greatest person in the world and his absolute genius, I feel like he has created all these people because he doesn't have an equal. And I think he feels like Dr. Manhattan is like the closest thing to his equal and like a friend maybe. And
Excellent
maybe
point.
He's just kind of lonely.
Yeah. So,
I mean, that's kind of where I'm thinking he's going with it. I mean, even in the graphic novel, he's all like, he's actually pleading with Dr. Manhattan. He's like, I did the right thing. Because he wouldn't ask that of anybody else. He would just assume he was right. Yeah. But then with Dr. Manhattan, he's like...
He wanted his approval.
He wanted his approval. He's like, I did do the right thing.
And ultimately, he did agree with him. Yeah. And that's why he stopped Rorschach there at the end. Yeah. So... Wow. See, this is just getting going. This is only episode 2, and we're really deep into this already. I mean, there's so many different things to talk about. The American hero story that they're doing here that's kind of ripping off Ryan Murphy, and the what was it? The warning at the beginning of the episode.
SEC warning.
Yeah, that just. There was a laundry list of things there.
What all did it say?
Racism, misogyny. Let's see here. What else?
Children under 14 should not watch this.
Not even with a guardian.
Even with parents, yes.
So nobody should be watching it. Basically, is what they were saying at the beginning there. But it's interesting, the stylized violence, and in the original Watchmen novel, it wasn't that violent. I think they really pushed the envelope there in terms of the ultra violence and the slow mo, kind of like Zack Snyder was doing in the movie, the original movie there. And I think maybe taking a couple shots at him, especially with the cash register overkill there at the end. But I think it's interesting that this is going to end up being kind of connected in a way. When you heard him say there, he goes, he was what was his name? Rorschach. He was talking like Rorschach, but it wasn't him. So he's sitting there. He's, who am I? And he goes, if I had that answer, I wouldn't be wearing a mask. And the pans right over to Angela, and it's the same kind of questions that she has about herself. So there's so many layers to this episode. It was it's difficult to pick apart almost.
And it's one of those things they've really said it's a continuation of the graphic novel, but like that little homage to the movie there, and that's really what that was this whole series so far has been a lot of tributes being paid, and the way it kind of ties into the graphic novel and to the movie as far as the way it's been filmed and the music. Again, I have to hand it to Trent Reznor. The music is so involving. It just, right when it kicks in, it just changes the pace of the whole scene. Very creepy and disturbing vibe.
And it always kicks in at the right time. It's not overused. It's it's just to get things moving again and get you amped up. And Reznor's brought a lot to this actually.
Yeah. So at the end of the episode, she goes back in and she's telling him, she's like, trying to get answers out of him. And we know who this guy is, from the first episode when he was a child. And you're kind of trying to figure out how he fits in with everything and with the 7th Cavalry and all that. And so she finally was just like, you know what? Heck with it. You're under arrest. Yep. And it was really interesting. She's starting to put him in the car. And then what? As
if enough wasn't thrown at you this episode. Now you have a spaceship hovering over her car, and with a giant magnet taking it up into the sky, and note falling down. It's just, like she said at the end, what the hell? Nobody really knows what's going on now. You think you have some things pegged, and then something like that happens.
Well, he had said, if you tried to take me in, somebody would stop you, And I almost felt like that was a threat, and it really wasn't. I mean, she was never really in any danger. Although I do wonder what would have happened if she'd have done what I would have done, which immediately, as soon as I saw that thing come down from the sky, I'd open up the car door and pulled him back out the car. Is what I'd have done. Like, heck no, And she just kind of lets it happen, and which makes me feel like, she kind of, at this point, is taking him at his word, because he said that, something would happen if she tried to.
And I think she's almost curious to see what would happen. Yeah. Instead of the instinct of pulling him out, she wanted to see what would happen.
And also, if she would have pulled him out, how much worse would it have got? Maybe they were just trying to get him out safely without hurting her. But say she tried to pull him out, then maybe... she could have gotten shot or killed even, we don't know.
What I find interesting is she didn't decide to take him in until the bomb was dropped there, that it was her grandfather. Yeah. And she's had him there this whole time, and then she figures out that they're way more connected than she ever thought. And
no questions.
Yeah. No questions about it. Yeah. He asked, he said, so your parents never talked about me, and so do you have any questions? And automatically she says, I'm taking you.
You're under arrest.
Things are good.
Maybe they did
things are getting too weird.
They did talk to her about him. And that was the part of the episode actually we hadn't talked about. It was interesting because she takes the cup in, she does a little test, and they happen to call while she's there.
Yeah.
And, and immediately, as soon as they're like, can you say name of a relative, she immediately, names herself because it's like she's already...
That was her suspicion, I think, in the first place. And to have it confirmed like that at that time, it was a little... convenient. So,
but, like Derek said, I thought it was interesting because it was no, like, hey, do you have any questions? There was literally no hesitation. It was just like, you're going to jail.
Yeah. And just say, no more of this weird shit. We're taking you in.
Yeah.
So there's a big part. And then you can go all the way back in the episode to see when they're pulling him down from the tree there, and if you want to talk about politics here and everything, and whether the government is oppressive here or this regime is oppressive, it very much looked like that to me when they stood outside that trailer park. They looked like an oppressive regime.
Yeah, it was definitely answered. And we had talked about it in the past episode about how, it's honestly, it's such a weird world because there's a lot of things that, like, again, my political view is I'm very against. I think there should be less government power. People should have freedoms and liberty. And it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of that in this world. But on the other side, it seemed like almost they were trying to handle things in a responsible manner. But after this episode, you see not so much. Not really. It's not about the guns because the other people don't have them either. So it's like they can just go into this town, this little area,
and tear it apart,
rip it apart, pull people out, beat the crap out of them, and these people have committed no crime.
They even said that we know not all of you are part of the cavalry. He goes, but doesn't matter, you're coming with us.
Yeah.
So they were white hot about him getting strung up like that, and all it took was a bottle getting thrown at one of their cars to pretty much incite a riot.
Incite a whole riot, yeah. And the thing is the people that were defending themselves were criminal. Mm-hmm. Immediately they're criminals for defending their homes.
Yeah.
Which so this obviously is like kind of a police state. And something else, again, Derek was talking about earlier was about how, as regime-esque as it is, there is still, at least for all intents and purposes, some sort of a free election because Redford isn't just de facto leader.
No.
There's still like people that run
There's
against
still
him.
A version of democracy.
It's just there's no term limits. Yeah. So he's obviously been reelected. So it's actual laws and things or changes in the Constitution that's allowed this kind of thing to take place.
So remember, the senator was at her house after Don Johnson died, right?
Yeah.
He's already, I think in the next episode, he's doing speeches, and who knows if this isn't a springboard for him to try and
run for president.
Yeah.
Which, if he's a part of the cavalry and all that too,
that very much could be connected to all this.
All of it. It could be one thing is all a domino piece leading to the
get
next.
Somebody into power. And even like they said when they were taking him down from the tree there, he goes, "Are you in charge?" And Mirror goes, "No."
Yeah.
So the question is, who is in charge now that Don Johnson's gone? And is it a power struggle? Does anybody actually want that position? I mean, there's a lot of questions unanswered there too.
Yeah, there was a little insinuation that possibly that Regina King's character was in charge, but she really wasn't taking that leadership role, or she didn't really seem to want it.
No, see, I don't think anybody wants the role that Don Johnson had. I think there's going to be a lot of people got no thanks.
Is there also the public face of law enforcement, and especially the detectives spend their lifetime hiding.
Yeah. And most of those detectives and stuff have families and things like that. He was, like you said, the public face, and look what happened to him. Too.
Well, he did survive the White Knight, and one of the only ones to survive it. But who wants to be responsible for another attack like that, or put their families in danger and be the face of the police force there? I mean, it seems like a dangerous job to take. So.
And I've noticed too, like the different characters in the police force. Like it's very interesting. It's like the guy dressed in red. He even is like, I'm a communist. He like openly admits to
call him a Nazi. He goes, no, I'm just communist.
I'm just a communist. and that's acceptable. In that society, which I felt was kind of interesting. A lot of really underlying things that I think kind of explain the society as a whole is very under thumb.
Yeah.
And I think that's created a lot of this tension. And I'm really kind of interested to see where it goes and if maybe even Dr. Ozymandias is upset with the world in the way that it is. If maybe his plan is to try and somewhat free the people in some way.
See, he may be upset that everything that he wanted to happen there, including the squid dropping in Times Square, everything to save humanity and to, get everybody to align with each other and get along, is already starting to unravel this quickly. And, I think that really kind of bothers him.
Really chaps him.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't fall in line the way he wanted.
Exactly. I mean, the world became more repressed in a lot of ways. Maybe we're now not on the brink of killing each other with nuclear weapons, but destroying each other from a societal standpoint with the battles between class warfare and race.
Absolutely.
There's just a lot of interesting things, too. It's like Ozymandias was riding on the horse. He rolls up to what appears to be an apple tree, but it's actually a tomato tree.
Yeah. Just it's little things. We haven't even mentioned the kid yet. That Regina King's partner, who died in the
White Knight.
Yeah, in the White Knight. There, he seems to be a little. I don't know how to describe him. You see, he's building that huge structure over there in his room when she's telling him that his uncle, not really his uncle, but he had died, and he goes, okay. And he's sitting there, he almost had a non-reaction to it, like Manhattan.
But then he snaps and destroys it. Yeah.
Just like Manhattan, he snapped and destroyed what he built on Mars.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of similarities between this kid and how he reacted to these terrible situations and this terrible news and the way Manhattan would have reacted to it.
Yeah.
Which I find interesting.
That's a nice point, too. Yeah. Also, I thought it was interesting when you bring up her kids. So that child is not hers because that was a friend that died in the White Knight. Mm-hmm. And the other two kids obviously are not hers either.
No.
So it looks as if she actually took on maybe all the children.
All the responsibility.
All the responsibility, the children of the families that were killed during that White Knight. Mm-hmm. And so her and her husband are really raising a whole lot of kids that aren't even theirs, and obviously they're dealing with backlash of that with the man on the porch.
The grandfather, I assume, sitting there is you could tell racist undertones there. I'm glad these Redfordations are coming in handy for you when she's writing the check to him.
Yeah, and obviously he really didn't want to see the kids. It was all a shakedown. Yeah. It was just a shakedown.
It was all just for some money.
Yeah, but a lot of plans within plans going on, and still a whole lot of secrecy on what's going to happen next.
And just the previews for next week, you see Silk Spectre coming in really quick. I thought it was going to take 4 or 5 episodes for her to kick. Nope, she's already in next week.
Yeah.
So that's going to further muddy the waters here and open up a few more plot points, I assume.
Yeah, and I really think is interesting, too, is that this is expanding on the graphic novel. So everything originally happened in New York. And this is obviously in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yeah. I don't know, right now I don't think it's covered yet exactly where Dr. Ozymandias is located.
They filmed in Scotland?
In Scotland? So is he actually supposed to be in Scotland?
Norway,
nobody really knows.
But they haven't said in the show.
There are theories that he's on Mars somehow and that he's around that it is Dr. Manhattan. There's a lot of theories floating around out there. So
but I don't know where he's at yet. But Silk Spectre supposedly is coming in from New York. So she's actually traveling here because of things that are going on. Mm-hmm. So, it's kind of interesting how these things are all kind of pulling together. Yeah. And I'm kind of excited to see what happens next. I really am interested in the 7th Cavalry's plan because there really wasn't a whole lot of that in this episode. No. And there's obviously something going on there. But my biggest intrigue at this point is still the captain and them finding that, 7th Cavalry suit, or it might have been
finding a link there.
A link to either 7th Cavalry or Ku Klux Klan, whichever that was actually supposed to be. I'm kind of curious how far that goes. And I really do think that his wife and everybody knows and is in on it. But,
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but I guess time will tell.
I've got 7 more of these, so I'm excited.
Yeah.
This has been some outstanding television. So not since The Leftovers have I been this enthralled with a show. So good, so far so good. Yeah. That's what I'll say.
Well, we actually didn't get that many comments, but I'm going to go ahead and look through, and next week we're going to go ahead and pick a winner for last week's episode and send you a copy of the graphic novel. And make sure you guys like and subscribe. Keep tuning in and watching, and there'll be more to come.
Absolutely.
Thanks for watching, guys.
All right.